was alive in my own perfect world. But in my heart, I knew it wasn't perfect.
I've been wrestling with the thorny issue of what's wrong with The Lovely Bones, Peter Jackson's adaptation of Alice Sebold's novel. And it comes down to this. The film depicts something that's in the novel but it's very hard to put on screen, the afterlife. Not necessarily heaven, but the afterlife, the world beyond this. What happens in the story is that the young heroine is murdered at the beginning of the film and then spends the rest of the film involving herself in the action from beyond the grave. And I said to Peter Jackson when I interviewed him for The Culture Show, did you ever consider not depicting heaven at all? The film had famously had a long gestation. It was with Lynn Ramsey for a long time. And then it ended up with Peter Jackson, who obviously has access to great digital technology. But I still thought that maybe the stuff that's written about in the book, he wouldn't want to do on screen. And he said, well, we thought about it. We did seriously consider it. But the problem is we needed to see her. And if you saw her, you had to see a setting that she was in. So we pretty much had to depict the afterlife. And what they did was they did it with digital technology. And I started to think about 5 other ambitious, maybe flawed, maybe failed depictions of the afterlife on screen. Here are my 5. See what you think of them, see whether you can think of any better examples. Firstly, the film to which The Lovely Bones owes the greatest debt, What Dreams May Come, Vincent Ward's movie, which is set in the afterlife, in which Robin Williams is romping through a digital landscape. I was in Cannes when the film was announced. Vincent Ward was there with Robin Williams, and they had these paintings of what the landscape of heaven might look like. And Vincent Ward was saying, well, we're going to digitally animate these. And we, what? Digital animation? How does that work? And Robin Williams humorously picked one of the paintings up and waved it around in front of us, and we all laughed, thinking how daft. Then we saw the movie and went, oh, yeah, it looks like that. It didn't work, but it was an ambitious attempt. Much more successful, Powell and Pressburger's 1946 classic, A Matter of Life and Death, in which heaven is shot in black and white, in stark contrast to the bright colour of the world down below. You might think the natural thing would be to do it the other way around. The world is black and white, heaven's in colour. Not Powell and Pressburger. Their movie, which in America, incidentally, is called Stairway to Heaven, a much less satisfactory title, still remains one of the most evocative depictions of the afterlife. Something which you may have overlooked, which I want to point you towards, Exorcist 3, originally entitled Legion, has a very brief sequence in it, in a dream sequence, in which we see a vision of the afterlife, which is part hospital ward, part railway station, with people coming and going, patients being directed from one world to the next. Worth looking at, not only because it's a lovely sequence, but because it has a brief, fleeting cameo from Samuel Jackson. Bedazzled, the original Bedazzled, not the ridiculous remake, which was boring and unfunny, but the original, in which our hero goes to heaven, which is, of course, Scion House in Scion Park, a wonderful vision of heaven as a kind of lush, floral area with beautifully tended plants. That's kind of what the English would think of as being heaven. But my favourite on-screen depiction of the afterlife is in a film which you may or may not have seen by Michael Tolkien, who wrote The Player, called The Rapture, which I love because what it does is it takes literally writings about what the afterlife, what the apocalypse, what the day of judgment might be like, and puts them right up there on screen. And I'm not alone in loving this film. Here's what Roger Ebert, the American critic, said about it. He said, not until Michael Tolkien's The Rapture had there been a movie to seriously consider what the end of the world might be like if the biblical prophecies turn out to be literally true. Here is one of the most radical, infuriating, engrossing, challenging movies I've seen. There are people who love it and many who hate it, but few who can remain on the sidelines. When the film first came out, I interviewed Michael Tolkien for the NME, and I was trying to tell him how much I liked it, how much I thought it was really smart and witty and intelligent. And I said, it's like you've made the anti-John Borman movie. You've made the opposite of Exorcist II, The Heretic. And he took that as a very high compliment. I hope you've seen it. If you haven't, Film School 101, go and check it out. And let me know here on the blog, do you think there are any other extraordinary depictions of the afterlife? If so, what are they?